brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? 'Cause that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
This is Sips with good old boy Mike. Today is wine with three very different wines. Up first, we have a white wine from Argentina, Alta-Vista Premium 2011. This winery in Alta Vista has a varietal of Torrontés. It's a white wine with a bright yellow color and delicate floral aromas. This wine excites the senses with its freshness and liveliness. It smells like a Viognier in the nose, but it tasted like pure granny apples. This winery sits on the slopes of the Andes and ready to drink now. Our Sips rating for this is a 3. Interesting. What was that again? Our next wine is from Spain, España. It is a blend of Tempranillo and Grenache called Alba Liza 2009. This wonderful Spanish table wine has some wonderful fruit-forward and jammy hints of currant with simply light tannins on the tongue. It's a great middle-of-the-road Tempranillo, great for serving with any dinner, and well rated by some other organizations. Our Sips rating is 3. This is interesting. What was that again? Our last wine for today's Sip segment is from Plumpjack. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon 2009. We're not usually fans of discussing stuff that are hard to find or impossible to locate, but the price of this small batch winery is nearly half the price it debuted at. A really big California red, full of aromas of baked plums, chocolate, currant, and vanilla that explode from the glass. Mouth-coating flavors of chocolate, black, cherry, densely lay across your palate, building to a long, wonderful finish with a slight dusting of tannins that have mellowed with some age now. If you find this wine, you shouldn't pass it up. Our Sips rating for this is a 4. Let's keep this a secret to ourselves. Pour me another. Classified. That's it for our Sips for today. Next up are Suds.
Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
This is Suds from Lawrence, Kansas, home of the KU Jayhawks, and that is basketball with a capital B. We happened to be in town for the Big 12 powerhouse opener and checking out the remnants of college football. Today's Suds segment is a segment takeover by Free State-Brewery. Chuck and Steve have been creating wonderful beer in the breadbasket of the country for quite some time. They have 14 barrels and a bottling plant that allows them to have a variety of beers and a scale of production. We got to check out some bottles and the brews on tap at the downtown brew house. I was joined by good old boy Matt, Suresh the Brown Smurf, and here are some of our notes from the visit. Hey, I thought this was Missouri since I can see Missouri still from the window. I think she could be of legal age. Is there a mercy rule in college football? Wait, what was this segment again?
Suds, 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 it's time for more Suds.
Yes, this is Suds, and here are the Suds. Wheat State, light and refreshing golden beer brewed in a style all our own. Goes down easy and finishes clean. This is a solid wheat beer with no citrus notes. It's smooth. Our Suds rating is 3. Ah, what a relief. Next up is Astra Ale, a full-bodied ale with a hint of hops to balance the sweetness that comes from 3 different malt varieties. It's an over-hopped amber ale, although one of the good old boys with me really liked it. Matt has a questionable judgment in beer and football teams, but go figure, he liked this. Our Suds rating for Ad Astra is 2. Was that a belch? Next up is Hopjack Ale. Every batch of Hopjack features a new showcase hop. This go around, they selected the slightly spicy, slightly citrusy, subtle genius of crystal hops. This is a solid East Coast IPA, and our Suds rating of this is 3. Ah, what a relief. Next up is the Big Sea ESB. Named for a poem by one-time Lawrence resident and Harlem Renaissance poet laureate Langston Hughes, this classic British ESB features the citrusy, slightly grassy characters of East Kent Goldings and UK Fugal hops. Fine British malts contribute this biscuit-like character of this extra special bitter. Now, we've had plenty of ESB beer, and this one was very bitter, more like really bittersweet. Please, stop making this beer. Our Suds rating is 1. That sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Next up is a seasonal called Winterfest. This is a bright golden with citrus flavor and aroma that combines notes of grapefruit, orange zest, and a touch of the tropics. This is a very odd IPA with some hop experiment gone wrong. A seasonal that should die with the thaw of the Kansas River. Our Suds rating is 2. Was that a belch? Next up is an Oatmeal Stout. This is a traditional full-bodied stout that frankly was watery and was closer to a chocolate cola than a stout. A dead can of Murphy's would have been better. I'm sorry, but our belch rating on this is 2. Was that a belch? Don't fret with all of this bad belching. Steve and Jeff do make some really great beer. And next up is our top pick, the old Backus Barleywine. It was a resounding chorus of yes for this barley wine. Top pick for Suresh the Brown Smurf, as he remarked, "How hot was that blonde? I mean, I came, I smell, I smurfed." Whatever that may mean. It's great beer that's very approachable for a barley wine and very well balanced. This barley wine gets our top rating for this round at Free State of 4. The body should not really make that sound. Our last beer at Free State is the Mack Imperial. Now, this fooled me for a Belgian dark without knowing what it was. Whammo! It's an Imperial Stout. Stumped the beer geek. This very special beer was brewed as a double-strength Imperial Stout. The hopping level is very hard to define, though there are enough hops to achieve 100 IBUs in a smaller beer. This beer still has a distinct sweetness due to a high percentage of unfermentable sugars. After fermentation, this beer is aged in old whiskey barrels from the McCormick's bottling plant in Weston, Missouri, hence the name Ode, or for us Yanks, Old Max. One of the better bourbon barrels we've had. Most beers and wine and whiskey barrels are just horrible mistakes, but Free State has pulled it off. So that's it for the Free State Brewery for today. They do have some other beers and seasonals that we did not get to try, but if you're in the area, you should check one of these out for yourself.
Hey man, got a light? It's time for smokes. Hello, this is old boy Mike's Papa doing an interview with CJ Fishman, owner of Fishman and Associates, an international company, food service consultant, works internationally, located right here in Venice, and a cigar aficionado. So CJ.
Well, thanks, Jim. It's good to be here with you.
Tell me about your group here in Florida that's been reinstated.
Reincarnated, so to
Reincarnated.
speak? Well, I guess it was a couple of years ago now. About 3 or 4 of us who are avid cigar smokers were at a place up in Sarasota having a cocktail after work, and we were sitting outside smoking cigars and just talking about the 90s when the cigar boom used to be really big. And back then there was a group that I was involved in called the Lovers of the Leaf out of Sarasota, Florida.
Cool.
And Lovers of the Leaf was a group of business people, both men and women, that would get together about once a month, and we would learn about cigars from cigar vendors, and we would share in a few libations, and we'd have a nice dinner, and really build a lot of camaraderie. And as the cigar boom kind of faded and went away, the Lovers of the Leaf kind of went away with it. So, as I said a couple of years ago, we were talking about the Lovers of the Leaf and said, hey, it might be a good idea if we invite a few more people as we get together every, month or so, and we'll see how it goes. So we reenacted the Lovers of the Leaf, and everybody, we started out, brought one person, and now there's probably 60 or 70. There's no membership fees. It's just anybody who wants to show up, shows up. We have one guy that is our secretary who sends out the notice of where we're going to meet, and we usually meet at a cigar-friendly place and sit around, smoke cigars, and celebrate life. And we have men and women in the group.
Awesome. And those locations where you meet, are they anywhere in Florida?
Yeah, we've met at Bogey's right down the road here a year or so ago. We've met Maduro's, which is up in Sarasota, at both locations, the one on 41 and the one off of University. We've met at Tobacco Depot. We've met up in Bradenton. Manatee, we spread it around, and we have a great time. It's amazing what cigars do to bond not just business people, but all walks of life, all people from all walks of life.
I'd like to meet some of the women who are smoking those cigars.
Yeah, well, there's only 2 right now, but that's 2 more than we had when we started, so it's pretty good. It's anybody's welcome as long as they have an appreciation for cigars.
Do you tend to rate cigars while you're meeting, or you just...
Well, everybody, either we purchase, a cigar, everybody purchase whatever they like from wherever we are, so we're helping those businesses that we're at, or people bring their own cigars, and, obviously it comes around conversation of what are you smoking, why are you smoking it. Cigars are very, very subjective.
Like wine.
Like wine. Very similar to wine. I remember when I joined the magazine Cigar Aficionado. I have every copy since the inaugural one, and this is going back, I don't know now, probably 20 years. But it came out of the Wine Spectator. Marvin Shanken created it, and and he's rated cigars over the years, and thousands or hundreds of thousands of cigars, but they're very subjective. So. And the price of a cigar doesn't dictate necessarily the quality or the taste of a cigar.
That's it, and much like wine also.
Very similar to wine.
I still like Two Buck Chuck.
There you go. Two Buck Chuck's very famous. And now you have a store where you can get it here in Sarasota.
Absolutely, yeah. I got it. Just got a case yesterday.
Yeah, and I've smoked cigars that are $40 retail price when I was up in New York, which was absurd. Based on taxes and those kinds of things, and I've smoked cigars that have been $5, and I've liked a $5 cigar just as well as I liked a $40 cigar.
That's wonderful. That's a great sounding group. Sounds like a lot of fun.
And we do have a lot of fun. And again, cigars are, if you look at anything why I have such a passion for it. And my father-in-law, may he rest in peace, started me smoking cigars when I was 21. Cigars and martinis, so they kind of go hand in hand. And it's been a passion I've had actually for both the rest of my in my life. And it's amazing how a cigar bonds people together. So,
wow, so it's 21 is when you started.
Yes, about 21.
Awesome.
I'd like to say it's only 3 years ago, but unfortunately it's not. So.
More like 5 or 6.
Yeah, more like
right.
5 or 6.
Well, thanks, TJ. I'm going to go on and move on to a different topic. About you said you recently went down to Honduras, was it?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, a group of us, 14 of us, 14, if you can picture this, type A personalities, went on a trip to Honduras to where Rocky Patel has his cigars made. We flew down to Honduras. We stayed at Rocky Patel's compound down there. We went to the factories, Nestor Palence's factory, who makes the cigars for Rocky Patel, and as well as many other cigar retailers throughout the world. It was fascinating. We learned everything there is to know about cigars, from the time it's a seedling to the time it's a small little plant. Everything's hand done.
Wow.
Give you an example, and I don't know if most people know this, but 300 pairs of hands touch a cigar before you smoke one.
Really?
Yes, and that pretty much runs as an average on any cigar. It's one of the last forms of artwork made by man from a natural product out of the ground.
300 hands.
300 pairs of hands, and believe me, I think I saw 300 pairs of hands through the time I was there. And that's talking from the time that the people actually plant the seeds and how they nurture them to get to the leaf, and when the leaf is in its very infancy stage, how they pose the leaf into the soil, and then how it grows, and then from the harvesting of it to the fermenting of it, and all the way through the production. So we had an incredible experience for 5 days.
Wow. I had the pleasure of going through a cigar factory in Tampa when I worked up in there, and it was interesting to see how the layout of that was, and some of the pictures they had of people putting those cigars together. That's probably only like a few of the hands of the 300 that you're talking about, right?
Right, but those are the most crucial hands in my opinion, because those are the ones that roll the cigars and really are responsible for the quality of the roll to make the smoke a pleasurable experience. The only machine we saw the whole time there, as far as the cigars were concerned, was a machine that tests the draw of a cigar, which was a automatic machine. All cigars go into this machine to test that the draw is good, and if not, it's rejected and it goes back to the roller and it's fixed.
Wow, that's sort of like a suction machine, I guess.
Yeah, basically, yes, and it has to be within a certain range on this screen, and it was fascinating. And when I was there were none that were rejected. So you've got rollers in a room that's probably a couple hundred rollers, and you've got. I only saw one machine, maybe there was two, but I only saw one, and it was fascinating.
So it's an art to put together.
It's an art form to put a cigar
and it's
together.
amazing. Now, if someone wanted to go there, how do you make those kind of arrangements? Do they open up for just anybody? Or?
Well, it's an interesting. I imagine they still do those trips, and you can probably get something arranged from your local cigar retailer, or somebody that purchases, not just Rocky Patel cigars, but other cigars. It's a smart move for retailers like or wholesalers like Rocky Patel and cigar manufacturers, if you will, because the more they can expose people to what goes into a cigar, the more appreciation, the more people like me that are talking to you and promote cigars throughout the world. Cigars are an international bonding experience, I would call it.
That is so cool. That's wonderful. I know how you bond with people. You've been very good about that. I think we'll take a break right now and come back and talk about some other experiences that you have had in selecting cigars.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
That's it for today's episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes. This is good old boy Mike asking you to keep sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.